Hi guys, I'm going to show you how to lay some dubbing down on the hook, and hopefully this will make things easier for you. Laying dubbing down on to the thread and wrapping it on sometimes can just be really messy and cumbersome, and unless you've had it explained to you properly, it can really be hard to do. Hopefully in this video I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to show you the simple, easiest method for laying dubbing down onto the hook. First of all, I have my thread right here, which is 6/0 black, and this thread is not waxed, and I don't always use wax. In fact, I don't use it really very much at all. But I'm going to show you exactly how to make a dubbing loop, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the dubbing tool, which I described in the tools section of my videos. And when I described the tool, I mentioned that you need to spin it counterclockwise. Now there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that in this video in better detail. So those guys that didn't watch this video, they're probably still saying to themselves, well, why did he spin it counterclockwise? And from the camera's perspective, it's clockwise, but from my perspective, it's counterclockwise. So I'm spinning this as I'm looking at it in a counterclockwise direction. Okay, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some dubbing out of here. Now this is just a neutral color, and this means nothing. This is specifically for the purpose of teaching you guys how to wrap some dubbing on a hook. So let's get started. Here we go. Now what I'm doing is I'm in the same motion. I don't go like this. I only go in the same motion. Okay? And I'm spinning that dubbing on there, and it's a lot like spinning, I guess, yarn onto a thread. When a woman uses a spinning needle, a darning needle, or whatever that is, they spin the wolf's hair, or the I don't know, dog hair, cat hair, whatever it is they're using, onto the thread. And what they're doing though is they're getting that dubbing onto the thread. Now that's what it looks like basically when you're first starting. Now I know from previous experience that's not going to be enough to get me to the front there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin a really generous amount of material onto the hook here. So again, going the same direction. You don't want to use a twisting motion. You want to use the same motion. If you go this way, that's fine. If you go this way, that's fine. It doesn't matter which way you twist it, as long as you don't twist it back and forth onto the hook. Because let me demonstrate what happens when you do that. You can't move it, and it just follows you, and so you get nothing. So basically you want to go the same way and try to get it as evenly on there as you can. Okay? Now you can do one of two things. You can stop right there and you can wrap this on, and because I have the vise that I can do it with, you can wrap this dubbing on there like this. And there we go, we're wrapping our dubbing on. Now notice when I'm wrapping my dubbing on, I'm not going back over it like this. I'm wrapping each wrap, and you can unwrap it. If you make a mistake, back it off, that's fine. If you get back to the starting, you can go all the way back to the starting point, right there. Again, we're going to pull this stuff tight here, and we're going to wrap it in the same direction, okay? And again, I'll demonstrate this one more time. So we're going to wrap the dubbing by itself without a dubbing loop. We're going to cover up that very last thread wrap, because when you have your fly on there, when your fly is completed, you don't want to see a little bit of thread sticking out the back. So now what we can do is we can begin to wrap our thread onto the hook and our dubbing. We have a nice generous amount of dubbing on there, and look at that. Look how nice that looks. Now we got this far here. Do you see this right here? Do you see what happened? It came off of the hook. It didn't stay down. There's a reason why, and let me explain. The reason why that came undone was because we did not create a dubbing loop. Although this looks pretty good here, you can see that I can easily make that stuff come unwound. Here's how we prevent that. And this is the most important part. We're going to take it all the way back to the 0 point right here. That's where I started from. Let's rewrap that on there again. We can work with this as many times as we want. Here we go. This is exactly how you make a dubbing loop. Starting from when you first wrapped it on there, what you do is you go with your finger to the very end. You wrap the thread, pull some more out, you bring it back down, you bring the thread, come right in on it, you bring the thread forward of this point right here so that the thread comes up here a little bit forward of it. Then, just like you wrapped your base wrap, you're going to wrap over the top of that dubbing loop right there, and you're going to go back to the very back of the hook. Okay? Now, what that does is it just securely locked that loop in. I can pull on this loop as hard as I want, and the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to break because it will not pull this thread in my hand out. Now, at that point, I can take and wrap this thread to the front of the hook, and let's get it out of the way. I'm going to straighten my vise right here. I don't have it clamped to the table. I like it clamped to the table. I just don't have it clamped to the table right now for demonstration purposes. Here's our dubbing loop tool. Again, that's the dubbing loop tool. Here's how it works. We still have the loop in our finger, and what we do is we take this tool, hook it into the thread, just like that, and spin it counterclockwise. Now you see what it does? It traps that dubbing in between both pieces of thread right there, and it will not move. You can move this any way you want. It will not move, and it won't come unraveled. So here's the reason why you spin it in a counterclockwise motion. If I were to spin this in a clockwise motion, like this, as I'm wrapping in this direction, the thread is actually, because of the twisting motion, is actually going to start to unwind the dubbing loop. We don't want that to happen. We want everything as it wraps to get tighter. So we go in a counterclockwise motion, and because I have the vise, the swiveling vise, I can now take my dubbing and I can see exactly where I need to wrap that, and I can wrap every little wrap, and when it's like a rope, it'll wrap automatically right in front of itself. Now, when I'm done with this, you're going to see exactly how it looks. We go all the way to the front. Okay. Now, at this point, we want to tie that off. We don't want that wrap to come undone. So what we're going to do is we're going to unwrap the thread that we wrapped forward just to get it out of the way for that purpose. We're going to unwrap the thread until it automatically goes back to that point right there. The 2 points of thread are now exactly at the same point on the hook. We go behind the dubbing loop tool and in front of the dubbing loop tool. Behind the dubbing loop tool and in front of the dubbing loop tool. We go behind the dubbing loop tool and in front of the dubbing loop tool. Do you see what happened? Now the little tag end that is out here can't go anywhere. The dubbing can't go anywhere. And there you have it. A perfectly wrapped dubbing loop right there onto the hook. It won't go anywhere. You can rough it up. You can kind of rough that up with your fingers there if you want to make it a little hairy. But that there, guys, is exactly how you use the dubbing loop tool. That's how it works, and that's how you make a fly that will never come apart using a dubbing loop tool. Thanks for watching this video.